This man was born with supernatural powers. He can read people's memories when he touches them. The man's name is Dong Bai. He became a police officer by virtue of his supernatural power, and in less than a month after joining the force, all the cases he came into contact with were solved. He became a star in the police force. He even has a fan club. Even the janitorial staff are his fans. They even wanted to introduce their daughters to him, but because he used violence in the course of investigation, he was exposed by some people. The media started to slander him. This led to him being sent to the correctional board. In order to silence the media, the committee finally decided to suspend him for 2 months as punishment. But just before Dong Bai was about to complete the formalities, the cleaning lady who introduced him to his daughter suddenly rushed in. She knelt down and asked Dong Bai to help her find her daughter. Her daughter disappeared yesterday on her way home from work. Her daughter was very obedient, never stayed out all night. However, her daughter has not been heard from so far. Must be something wrong. She begged Dong Bai to help her. Dong Bai is also in a difficult situation. Because he is still suspended, he has no right to help investigate the case. Colleagues advised him not to get involved, otherwise, he might be fired for violating the rules. But just as the cleaning lady kneeled down and touched Dong Bai read a picture of her and her daughter. This made Dong Bai feel the janitor's helplessness, so he agreed to do it. But when he came to the house of the cleaning lady to investigate, he found that his colleague who had a conflict with him had already started to visit the residents in the neighborhood. Dong Bai went over to greet him in order to get his information. He wanted to take advantage of the handshake to read their memories, but because his ability is a household name, when he was about to shake hands, he was stopped by his colleagues. In order to get information about the case, Dong Bai had to make some sacrifices. He deliberately provoked his colleague, and he got them to beat him up. Dong Bai so hard to take it, and in the process of contact between the two people, he also read some useful information. Then he left after the beating. After getting into the car, Dong Bai told his partner to drive to the hospital. He told his partner, he knew from his colleague's memories that this was no ordinary disappearance. It's a serial murder case. 2 girls have already been killed, and a survivor of the murder is being treated at the hospital. He must go to the hospital and read the girl's memory, so that he can get the criminal's information and save the cleaning lady's daughter. In the blink of an eye, Dong Bai got into the isolation suit and went to the girl's hospital room. But when he used his superpower to enter the girl's memory, all he saw were fragments of memories that were blurred. Because the girl suffered a serious head injury, and now her consciousness is very weak. That's why she couldn't see anything more. In the continuous probing, Dong Bai vaguely saw a hammer and a red pig in the girl's memory, so Dong Bai was ready to investigate these 2 clues. But when he was walking in the hospital lobby, he accidentally bumped into a man. Dong Bai saw in the man's memory the image of him beating up the girl in the hospital room. The man turns around and realizes that it's detective superpowers and runs away. Dong Bai immediately followed him, but when he chased him down the street, he lost him. Dong Bai had to take off his jacket and use his powers again. He had to use his memory scan on the pedestrians on the street. He kept touching the pedestrians with his hands. He wanted to trace the man through their memories. Finally, when he came across an old man, he found the direction of the man's escape. Soon after, they arrested the man. But when Dong Bai put his hand on the man again to read his memory, but they realized they had the wrong man. It turns out that this man is only the ex-boyfriend of the girl who was victimized in the hospital 6 months ago. He was unhappy after the girl broke up with him, so he hit the girl. Then, Dong Bai and his men continued to search for the red pig. They searched all the vegetable farms and slaughterhouses in the city, but to no avail. So they set their sights on a farm in the countryside. Meanwhile, the captured girl was being hosed down with a water pistol. The criminals forced the girls to watch a documentary on religious beliefs. Then they made them take tests. As long as they get 90 points in each test, they'll be fine. The janitor's daughter was also arrested. The girl next door who came in first told her, if she didn't get 90 on tomorrow's test, she'd be killed. So the girl studied hard. But during the exam, the criminal took away her last question before she could finish it. After the exam, the 2 of them talked to each other. They both felt they hadn't done well. Both girls realized that one of them was bound to die. The only thing they could do now was to wait for the results to come out. When the girl saw the results, she got exactly 90 points, and the girl breathed a sigh of relief. The girl with long hair in the next room only scored 75. Just after reading the scores, the criminal came into her room with a hammer. Eventually, the girl was dragged out by the criminal. The man tortured the girl with a water pistol. He scrubbed her with a mop. He wanted to clean her up before he disposed of her. Hearing the long-haired girl's constant wailing, the cleaning lady's daughter was terrified. She didn't know if she'd have that kind of luck next time. The girl looked up at the boarded-up ceiling. She knew the only way to leave this world clean was to kill herself. She wanted to leave this world with honor, but after she kicked out the chair, the planks that held the rope broke. The girl sat on the floor and cried. She didn't know why God was so cruel to her. But when she looked at the ceiling above her head, she found a hole in the ceiling, so the girl crawled out through the hole. She crawled along the ventilation ducts. When she passed the long-haired girl's room, she was discovered by the long-haired girl. The long-haired girl was down there, begging the girl to take her with her, but it was impossible to take her away. The girl could only pretend she didn't hear it and keep crawling forward, but the sound she made alerted the criminals. So the criminals opened the planks and climbed up to catch up with the girl, but due to the man's size, he was too fat, he didn't get far before he got stuck, and the girl finally escaped through the pipe. Looking out at the sunshine that hadn't been seen for days, the girl felt free at last. Her guard was relaxed, but as she sat on the ground to rest, there were heavy footsteps behind her. The girl turned her head and realized it was the criminal. He had arrived with a hammer. The girl, who had just seen hope, instantly despaired. On the other hand, Dongbai finally found the place where the injured girl remembered the red pig symbol. But when he and Chief Superintendent Sunmi of the crime unit arrived here, they found the criminal covered in blood, and he was chanting incantations. Then he threw his head back and fell into the pit behind him. Just when the two thought it was unbelievable, they heard the sound of a girl crying. Following the sound, they found the long-haired girl. But when Dongbai opened the other room, he found the cleaning lady's daughter dead. She was smashed beyond recognition. Dongbai blamed himself. He hated himself for not getting here earlier, although this case seems to have ended here. But Dongbai always felt that the criminal who committed suicide was not the mastermind. He swore in front of the girl's statue that he would find out the truth. But when they asked the rescued girl about the details of the case, the girl wouldn't say anything, because it was her shouting that led to the capture of the escaping girl. She was killed instead of herself. She was afraid that her life would be jeopardized if she was exposed. Dongbai seemed to understand the girl's thoughts. He told her not to blame herself, and said that in that situation, this is a normal human instinct to survive. The girl was touched by Dongbai's words. After thinking about it for a day, she found Dongbai, and took Dongbai's hand, and let her read her memories. In her memories, Dongbai saw another man, and this man is the leader of the biggest church in Korea. He brainwashes different people every day, but this day, while he was brainwashing new members, one of them suddenly grabbed him by the hand, and that man was Dongbai. After reading the Godfather's memories, Dongbai was filled with rage. He couldn't imagine that the man who was supposed to lead his followers to the light, but he was a murderer and a monster. Dongbai raised his hand to hit him, but he was stopped by Sunmi. Sunmi ordered Dongbai to stand down, because except for the memories in Dongbai's head, they don't have any evidence to prove that this Godfather is guilty. However, although the Godfather has been read by Dongbai's memory, but he didn't panic at all, because he has tens of millions of followers in Korea. Even many high-ranking officials and celebrities are friends with him. On the outside, he's the head of a church with millions of followers, but at night, he's a demon. He preys on young girls. After hurting a girl, he would take a hammer and beat them to death, just to get his so-called pleasure. It was inhuman, but this man, who deserved to die, had supreme power. On this day, Dongbai pretended to be a religious man and touched him. He reads into his memory how he committed the crime. The next day, Dongbai received a subpoena for a congressional trial. The congressman also said in a press interview, he wanted to personally interrogate Dongbai on why he defamed the Godfather. For such an encounter, the always prudent criminal police colleague also could not stand it. He asked Dongbai to submit his resignation, so that he wouldn't have to attend the congressional review. Can also find a famous company that appreciates him to do those jobs with a high salary. Although the old colleague's words are reasonable, but Dongbai couldn't bear the thought of letting those girls die like that. So after they finished complaining, they got together to analyze the case. Dongbai, through the recall of the Godfather's memories, found that the Godfather would always destroy the evidence after committing a crime, but he always felt that there must be traces left at the scene. So, Dongbai and Sunmi went back to the scene. They found a sewer pipe in the room where the girl was being held. Through the telescopic monitor, they found a plastic glove in the pipe, but the pipe was too deep to get it out. Just as Sunmi was about to call the surveillance team to clean it up, there was a machine vibrating on the floor. They rushed out to take a look. They found out that the construction team was preparing to seal the tunnel. Dongbai wanted to stop them, but he's being controlled by his opponent. He could only watch as the soil was poured into the tunnel. Inside the tunnel, the pipe with the rubber gloves was slowly sealed. When Dongbai woke up again, he was in a hospital bed, and today he's going to be judged by the parliament. However, at the trial, Dongbai not only did not admit his faults, instead, he told the truth in front of the nation's reporters, despite being prevented from doing so by a large number of people on the spot. But Dongbai still told the truth. The two partners who worked with him thought he was finished. The judges threw papers at him. They also held him up to prevent him from speaking. And yet, the same night that Dongbai revealed the Godfather's true nature, he died in a bizarre manner at a prayer meeting, although several members of the congregation witnessed it. But when questioned by the police, they said they didn't know anything. Sunmi had no choice but to ask Dongbai to help again. But when Dongbai scanned the memories of the followers at the scene, he found that they only saw the master lying in a pool of blood, but there was no murderer in their memories. What happened here last night? Why did this happen? Dongbai really can't figure it out, because Dongbai said he didn't see the murderer's memories in his followers' minds, so Sunmi suspected that Dongbai was lying. He remembered what Dongbai said to the godfather a few days ago. Sunmi said that if these people had lost that memory, then it means that someone has deleted the memory fragments from their minds, and the only person who can do that is Dongbai. Dongbai was speechless at her words, because as of now, he's the only one in Korea who has supernatural powers. In order to clear his name, he was going to investigate the truth on his own, while Dongbai and his partner were looking for clues in the godfather's office. A passing porter told them, a few months ago, the painting on the wall wasn't like this. When he brought it in, the woman was holding a knife, but now the woman was holding a hammer. This statement woke up Dongbai right away. Then, they followed the clues and found the place where the painting was sent. But when they entered the building, they saw something even more outrageous. They saw a dead woman lying on the table. The woman's body had been dried up. Her limbs were still bound with chains. There was an empty bottle of poison on the floor. Based on years of experience in solving crimes, they deduced that the woman had no water to drink because she was tied up. She was so thirsty that she drank the poison handed to her by her abuser. While Dongbai and his colleagues were speculating on the cause of the woman's death, another partner has already found out the woman's identity. This woman suffered from severe autism after losing her parents as a child. At that time, the government hired a professor to set up a support system to help those who lost their parents, and the woman was one of them. So Dongbai and the others went to the professor's nursing home. The professor was already old and suffering from Alzheimer's. He didn't respond to Dongbai's questions. The only thing we can do now is to run a memory scan on him. In the professor's memory, Dongbai saw the woman as a child. He also saw a painting she was drawing, and this painting is the same as the one in the woman's room. When Dongbai came to the parking lot and saw the keyhole of the car door, he realized that the picture the girl was drawing, that the girl had seen her father's murder through the keyhole. Then, Dongbai came to Sunmi's place. He asked Sunmi to call up the surveillance room near the victim's house. Dongbai accidentally saw a TV reporter's car arrive a few hours before they found the body. A TV reporter's car came here in advance. The woman died so many days ago, even they didn't know. How did the TV station get the news? Dongbai felt that this incident might have something to do with the TV station, so they went to the TV station the next day to ask for information, but the reporter who was there at the time didn't want to tell the truth. Sunmi threatened them and they finally told them that the news was sent from the top. However, when they went to the president's office and asked him where he got the information, the president refused to tell them. Citing the confidentiality of the informant's information, the two of them ended up going nowhere. Luckily, Dongbai's partner was looking into some open cases from 20 years ago. He found out that the first person to report the cases was the current president of the station. Since they couldn't get an answer from the president, they decided to ask the cameraman from 20 years ago for the truth. But the cameraman didn't say anything about the past either, and he refused to take Dongbai's memory scan. Sunmi had to search the cameraman's house with a warrant, and sure enough, they found an altar in the photographer's house. The altar was filled with white bones. It was a chilling sight. They thought they were the bones of the victims. So, Sunmi immediately ordered his arrest. But after medical tests showed that the bones were animal bones, they had to release the photographer. But when the photographer came out, he told Dongbai that someone would die tonight. He said that this person would die because of Dongbai, because he will be the one whose memory has been read by Dongbai. He told Dongbai to stop the tragedy. As expected, the police received a murder case that night. However, when the police came to the scene to investigate, there was a video camera on the ground. What's even more shocking is that the video inside the camera was the murderer's own recording of the crime. This blatant provocation infuriated the entire police force. But apart from this camera, they couldn't find any other clues. Now they can only pinpoint their first suspect on the recently released suspect. But when they pulled up the tracking video of the suspect after he left yesterday, they found that he had never left the house. In order to find evidence, they sent someone to follow him all the way. At an intersection, they realized that the suspect had an unusual relationship with the child who bowed to him. So Dongbai put on a doll costume and went to the kindergarten. As the children played around him, he put his hand on the child's head and began to read his memories. In his memories, Dongbai realized that the man often used the child's cell phone, so they pulled over the mother's car in a police car, and then Dongbai, in his capacity as a super detective, asked his partner to take a picture of them with the child's cell phone. While the partner was taking the picture, he secretly injected a surveillance Trojan horse into the phone. When the kids came home, the man took the kid's cell phone and downloaded a hacker's chat program as usual, but he hesitated when he entered the password to log in. It was as if he knew the phone was being monitored. In the end, he didn't log in. The police wanted to check his cell phone to see who he was communicating with, but they underestimated the man's alertness. At that moment, they saw the president of the TV station visiting him through surveillance. So while they were chatting, Dongbai and Sunmi arrived. Sunmi wanted to get some clues from the president, but she was humiliated by the president. Dongbai heard the president swearing. He got angry and grabbed the president's clothes, and wanted to beat him up. When the cameraman saw Dongbai touching the president with his hand, he became very panicked for a moment. Then he hinted that the next person to die would be the president, but Dongbai didn't think so. He thought the cameraman was talking nonsense. Then, they went to the photographer's neighbor's boy's house. The boy's father told them that the photographer had a secret base outside, so they went to the secret base that night. On the outside, the base looked like an abandoned warehouse. Inside, there was a cave several dozen meters long. The deepest part of the cave was filled with all kinds of clothes and masks. Pushing aside the wooden planks overhead, Sunmi realized that this place was connected to the flower room of the photographer's house. Then they realized why the photographer didn't go out, but the murder he predicted happened. The photographer had sneaked out to kill someone through this secret passage, although they discovered the secret, but they were too late. By now, a man with a helmet and a motorcycle is on his way to the next victim's house. Dongbai also guessed that the cameraman would be out killing people now, but he's touched dozens of people recently. He couldn't guess who the photographer would choose to kill. While the two of them are still in the car, using the process of elimination to screen the most likely victims, the identity of the second victim has emerged. He's the TV station president who was touched by Dongbai at the cameraman's house during the day. From what the president said, it seems that the person in front of him is not someone he knows. After killing the president, the murderer jumped straight down from the second floor, but he was soon met by two police officers. When they were about to handcuff him, when they touched his body, they were brainwashed on the spot. Their minds went blank. They stood there motionless, and the criminal snatched the gun out of his hand without missing a beat. When Dongbai arrived, they had become delirious. They had no memory of what had happened, and when Dongbai scanned his partner's memory, he saw nothing. Then, Dongbai and Sunmi went to the photographer's house. They suspected that the photographer was using the time difference to commit a crime. That's why they came here to arrest him again. But at that moment, the photographer said, in order to prove that he didn't kill anyone, he would let Dongbai scan his memory. Hearing that the photographer had such a request, Dongbai was very happy. He immediately took out the voluntary memory, scanning commitment to let the photographer sign the pledge. Just after signing, Zhanghua, the mother of the neighbor's child, suddenly ran over to him. She asked the photographer why his child was here. The photographer hurriedly explained, because the school bus that brought the child back saw no one at home, so they brought the child to him. But Zhanghua blamed the photographer for not doing that. She said he should have called him. She's always criticizing the photographer, and the photographer realized this. Seeing his neighbor treating him like this, he thinks it's all because of Dongbai, because Dongbai suspected him of being the murderer, and went to the neighbor's house to investigate himself, destroyed his image in the eyes of the neighbors. Dongbai heard this and was speechless. He scoffed and said, "How can you have a reputation like that?" Then, they began a memory scan. When Dongbai entered the photographer's memory, he realized that he had no control over the photographer's memory, but that he was being led by some kind of force. The photographer moved the potted plant to open the entrance of the tunnel. He then led Dongbai into the tunnel they found earlier. Inside the tunnel, he saw a woman's body in the corner, and this woman seems to have been in Dongbai's mind since he was a child. Just as Dongbai was staring at it, behind the photographer appeared a man in black with a black mask and red eyes. This man in black must be the real murderer. The man in black stared at Dongbai with red eyes, but Dongbai was a bit weak when he stared at him. This is completely different from his usual mode of entering other people's memories. At this time, Dongbai outside the memory is already exhausted. Looking at Dongbai like this, the photographer laughed out loud. In the end, Dongbai still could not resist the pressure of the red eyes in the photographer's memory. He fainted on the spot. When Dongbai woke up again, it was 4 days later. His partner told him the photographer was taken to the police station because there was no evidence, and for more than 48 hours, he was acquitted. But after his release, the police were still following him. The policewoman followed him all the way to an office building. She saw the elevator stop on the 8th floor, so after reporting the situation, she changed her clothes and followed the elevator up the stairs. When she got to the 8th floor, she found a coffee shop, but the photographer wasn't there. Just when she thought she had lost him, and was about to take the elevator down, the elevator door opened. The photographer suddenly appeared inside. The policewoman was so scared that she froze on the spot. In order not to expose her identity, she went in calmly, but once inside, she was so nervous that she forgot to choose a floor. When they arrived at the parking lot, the policewoman realized that the situation was not good. She looked in her bag for a gun to defend herself, but the next moment, the photographer jumped on her. Then a scream was heard in the parking lot. By the time the policewoman's colleagues arrived on the scene, she had forgotten what had happened. The photographer was at the market looking at the neighbor's children in a strange way. When Zhanghua finished paying for the food, the child disappeared. She thought the child had gone into hiding, so she called out the child's name, but there was no response. She searched all over the place, but there was no sign of the child. At that moment, Xianghua recalled what the child had just told her. He said he saw the photographer next door, so she rushed home to find the photographer. She asked him if he had seen her child, but the photographer didn't answer but said to her, "It's all because of her mother's guilt." He was about to touch the woman. Luckily, at that moment, Dongbai appeared in time and pulled Xianghua over to him, but the moment Dongbai pulled her back, Dongbai accidentally saw her childhood memories. In Xianghua's memory, Dongbai saw the image of the photographer committing the murder. When the photographer saw Dongbai's appearance, he laughed derisively, then he turned around and wanted to go home. Dongbai stabilized Xianghua and followed him. He asked the cameraman where he hid the child, but the photographer said that because Dongbai also touched the child, so the child will be punished and become the third victim. The photographer smiled wryly and walked into the house. Then, Dongbai went to Xianghua's house. He asked her about her childhood. From what she told me, the photographer was her stepfather, and her mother was supposedly killed by him. Xianghua said that, when she was 9 years old, she saw her stepfather killing his pet dog with a knife in the woods near his home. That was the same day. Her mother took her necklace and left the house and never came back. But a few days later, his stepfather brought back the necklace. Immediately afterward, she learned that her mother had hanged herself with another man for love. She concluded that her mother had been killed by her stepfather, but that was 20 years ago. Now, we need to find the child as soon as possible, so that the child doesn't become the third victim. So, the police put the photographer's house under closer surveillance that night, but the photographer attacked and injured the officers watching him. Then he took their car, and then, he went to his adopted daughter Xianghua's home. He injured the police protecting her, and took her away, but the photographer was still careless. When he snatched the car, he didn't realize that the police officer's cell phone was left in the car. The police quickly located the officer's cell phone. They found that the car was heading towards the airport, so they immediately contacted the nearby police to stop the road. At the same time, Dongbai and Sunmi were not idle. When they checked the photographer's assets, they found out that the photographer had a secret base. So they came here. They tried to find out about the child here, but there was nothing here but a lot of tools. While Dongbai and Sunmi were saying that they came here for nothing, there was a sound of a car starting in front of the warehouse. Dongbai saw it and immediately followed it. He grabbed the small ladder behind the SUV and got into the car, but the vehicle swayed from side to side. Soon he was thrown off. On the other side, the police stopped the photographer's car through a roadblock, but when they opened the door, it wasn't the photographer in the car, but Xianghua and her child, who were taken by the photographer. The police couldn't figure out what happened. Is it possible that the person to be killed tonight is not the child? Or is this just a ploy by the photographer to get rid of them? The photographer has already driven to the pier, but he didn't know. Dongbai put a locator in his car when he climbed into his car. At this time, Dongbai and Sunmi also rode a motorcycle to this place. As soon as they got off the bike, Sunmi took out his gun and put the cameraman on the ground. But when Dongbai went to arrest him with handcuffs, he punched Dongbai and opened the door. He took out a gun from his waist and wounded Sunmi's right hand. Luckily his gun was kicked out by Dongbai after he shot him, so the two had a fight to the death here. However, during the fight, Dongbai read the photographer's memories, discovered that the real murderer is not him, but a man with the code name Eraser. He took away the child to protect Xianghua's family. The next day, while the photographer was being treated in the hospital, Dongbai read his memory again. In his memories, Dongbai realized that the photographer had a harmonious family 20 years ago. He fell in love with a divorced woman with Xianghua and lived together. Because the photographer's health was not good at that time, so he didn't get married so as not to bother Xianghua's mom. Instead, in order to pass on his property to his girlfriend after his death, he even contacted a lawyer to handle the matter. One day, he woke up and found his girlfriend's breakfast had been eaten by her pet dog, but when he went out and came back he found Xianghua sitting on the floor crying. It turns out that the pet dog at home is not working, so the photographer rushed the dog to the pet hospital, but the doctor couldn't do anything even after checking the poison in the dog. From then on, he felt that his girlfriend should have drugged his food, so he took the food to the chicken after his girlfriend went to work. As a result, half of the chickens died after eating the food. In order to find out why his girlfriend did it, he put a bug in her cell phone. The next day, he found out that she got into someone else's car after leaving the hospital. Then, he followed her all the way to their downstairs, in the wiretap. In addition to hearing the sound of his girlfriend having sex with a man, he also learned that she stayed with him to get his money, and he also heard that she was going to poison her own daughter. So he killed them in a fit of rage, and that was the beginning of his downward spiral. But the last few deaths weren't his. It was someone with the code name Eraser. The photographer was just one of Eraser's men, and the photographer's memory was erased by Eraser. The only thing Eraser left in the photographer's memory was his name. The last time Dongbai scanned the photographer's memory, he didn't see this. It's because the eraser grabbed Dongbai's shoes through the leakage net in the sewer, and that's how it took over Dongbai's memory. When the man was caught and put on trial, he bit off the ear of his defense attorney. He grabbed the pen and put it around the lawyer's neck, but the next moment, he cut his own neck with the pen, and he did it just to play a scene with the police, in order to create an opportunity to attract an eraser to eliminate him while he was being treated at the hospital. Dongbai posed as a photographer. He set up a dragnet in the hospital room to wait for eraser's arrival, while the real photographer and Sunmi monitored the scene in the background. But the last person to enter the hospital room wasn't eraser, but the photographer's adopted daughter Xianghua. Xianghua said she received a message that her stepfather was dying. She has no idea what's going on here. Dongbai scanned Xianghua's memory and found that she wasn't lying. Then he realized he'd been tricked. On the other side, the SWAT team holding the cameraman at gunpoint quietly pressed the jammer. The signal from the surveillance center was cut off instantly. When the assistant went out to find the cause, the cameraman realized something was wrong. He felt that there was something wrong with the SWAT team behind him. He suddenly realized that the SWAT team was the eraser. He saw eraser slowly raise the muzzle of his gun and pointed at Sunmi. Just as he was about to shoot, the photographer hurriedly stood up and hit him with a coat hanger. Eraser stood up and tried to resist, but Sunmi shot him twice and knocked him to the ground. Just as Sunmi was about to grab him, she was knocked out by a concussion bomb thrown by Eraser. When she woke up again, Eraser was already pointing a pistol at her. Just as he was about to shoot, the cameraman once again stepped forward to stop him. During the struggle, the photographer was stabbed several times by Eraser. Then Eraser fled the place, but when he came to the roof to escape, he met Dongbai, who was chasing him. Dongbai dropped the handcuffs and told him to put them on himself, but Eraser jumped straight from the building and finally escaped. The cameraman died trying to save Sunmi. Because of the failure of this operation, Sunmi was dismissed. Dongbai is also in the spotlight. They were getting close to the truth, but they lost the right to investigate the case. When Sunmi returned home after leaving her job, she found Dongbai at her house. It turns out that Dongbai had learned the password to Sunmi's house from scanning her memory, so he opened the door himself and entered first. Dongbai invited Sunmi to join him for a private investigation. He also vowed to catch the eraser. The next morning, they received the news that the head of the department and his son were killed. Dongbai and his team went to the hospital immediately. Department head in order to find the murderer to avenge his son. He asked Dongbai to scan his memories. In his memory, Dongbai realized that the murderer was the eraser, and when he grabbed the eraser, he took off his button. When the head of the department took out the button and showed it to them, Sunmi realized that the button was a special symbol of the fire department, so they turned their attention to the fire department. The chief of the fire department found out that the button was on their 20th anniversary uniform. When the secretary brought the list of names, he found out that there were only 8 people who owned this suit, and there were only 2 who remained in the firehouse. One is the captain himself, the other is Captain Liu. During our conversation, we learned that Captain Liu was involved in the rescue of a college student who was poisoned by gas 20 years ago. When he arrived, he found a policeman at the scene, but the fire department should have been the first to get the call for the rescue. Why did a policeman arrive at the scene before them? And after the fire department arrived, the policeman left the scene and didn't help the rescue. This incident instantly aroused Sunmi's suspicion. They analyzed. It's very likely that the policeman was the eraser, if it's really eraser, but why would he have this button on his shirt? At that moment, the secretary said she ran into Captain Liu when she went to get the list. Mr. Liu said he sent his clothes to the dry cleaner a few days ago and hasn't brought them back yet. Could it be that someone has stolen the clothes of team leader Liu? Dongbai wanted the secretary to call Mr. Liu to come here to collect evidence, but the secretary said that Mr. Liu has already left to join the rescue of the gas leak in Sinpendong. Why is it so coincidental that there's a gas leak again? Sunmi theorized that it could be a trap set by Eraser. If it's a trap, team leader Liu will be the next victim. Dongbai immediately told them to call Captain Liu to return to the team, but Captain Liu refused to go back when he received the call to return to the unit, because he didn't want to be a deserter. Since he wouldn't come back, Dongbai decided to go to the scene. At the scene of the accident, Mr. Liu heard someone calling for help, so he rushed to the source of the sound and found the victim, but when he tried to pull the victim away, he realized it was a dummy, and he saw that the sound was only a stereo. While he was puzzled, a man with a gas mask was coming towards him. He took out a pair of scissors and cut off Mr. Liu's oxygen tube. With the instant loss of oxygen, Mr. Liu had to take off his mask. He tried to call for help with his walkie-talkie, but the murderer grabbed it and threw it to the ground. He soon fainted from the poison. Luckily, Dongbai appeared in time to carry him out. On the way to the hospital, Dongbai also followed him to the ambulance. On the way, Dongbai dragged his tired body to do a memory scan on him. Finally, in team leader Liu's memory, he saw a laceration on the man's right arm. The next day, a subordinate from the intelligence division told Sunmi, 20 years ago, one of the high school students saved from the gas leak was a survivor named Man Yongdae. Man Yongdae has been working for Assemblyman Fang Jungsi. and the congressman's wife was kidnapped and disappeared last night, so they immediately went to the congressman's house. But only the secretary was there. The CCTV showed that the congressman's wife was kidnapped from the parking lot, and the secretary said that the man also had a wound on his right hand. This matches what Dong Bai saw in the fireman's memory last night. But in the middle of the investigation, the black-hearted prosecutor from the prosecutor's office also came here. He's here to arrest Dong Bai, because Dong Bai is illegally reading other people's memories. The prosecutor's attitude is tough. No mercy at all. But at that moment, the congressman also returned home. When he learned that the prosecutor's office wanted to take away Dong Bai, who had come to rescue his wife, the congressman's face turned pale. He cursed at the prosecutors and kicked them out. After the prosecutors left, Dong Bai asked to read the memories of the congressman's Man Yong-dae. But as Dong Bai was walking towards Man Yong-dae, he suddenly took out a knife and threatened the secretary. Finally, Man Yong-dae drove away from the congressman's house. But when he came to the corner, a female reporter drove her car and blocked his way. He saw Dong Bai catching up with him. He had to ride a car on the side of the road to escape. When Dong Bai was exhausted from chasing him, Sunmi drove Man Yong-dae's car to catch up with him. She told Dong Bai to get in the car, because she found Man Yong-dae's navigation records when she got the car earlier. So the two of them finally arrived at the location on the navigation in the dark. This is a junkyard. After getting out of the car, while they were searching around, there was a phone ringing in the distance. So they followed it to an abandoned bus. In a drawer, they found the ringing cell phone. When they answered the phone, they realized it was Man Yong-dae. On the phone, Man Yong-dae said he's not a murderer. In fact, he's been tracking the eraser too. He said he found out who the person with the wound on his right arm was, and that person's picture is in the red button. Dong Bai picked up the red button on the table and pressed it. The bus TV showed a picture of the person with the arm injury, and the person in the photo was the chief of their police station. Then they realized why the chief had fired them to stop them from investigating the case. In the blink of an eye, Dong Bai rushed into the chief's house in a frenzy. He lifted the chief's sleeve. He found a scar on his arm. Dong Bai pressed the director to the ground and wanted to read his memory. However, in the director's memory, Dong Bai saw that the director was also a victim. He was injured and fell to the ground, but the person who appeared in front of the director was Dong Bai himself. Although Dong Bai had lost his memories from before he was 9 years old, but he didn't believe it was him. And Sun Mi, after spending a lot of time with Dong Bai, he also doesn't believe that Dong Bai is the murderer. In order to catch the real killer as soon as possible, they got together again to clear their minds. Soon they realized that, when Man Yong-dae abducted the housekeeper yesterday, the housekeeper took the initiative to walk down the steps. This action was obviously to help Man Yong-dae escape, so they immediately went to the congressman's house and found the housekeeper. They showed the video to the secretary. The secretary finally told them what Man Yong-dae was planning to do. They followed the secretary's lead and drove to the resort hotel. When they arrived at the hotel, they saw that the director had set up a heavy guard here. He was afraid that his family would be harmed by the eraser, so he brought his wife and son here to protect them. In order to catch Man Yong-dae and find out the truth, Dong Bai and Sunmi came to the director's place. Sunmi told the director that eraser will target his family next, but the director arrogantly said he could protect them himself. But as soon as he said that, the lights in the aisle went out, and then, one by one, the officers fell to the ground. Then a man wearing a gas mask came in, but the moment he opened the bedroom door, Sunmi and Dong Bai were holding him at gunpoint. He tried to turn around to fight back, and was shot to the ground. Dong Bai took off his mask, and realized it was Man Yong-dae. He immediately put his hand on Man Yong-dae's neck to read his memory, but at that moment, the director behind him electrocuted them with an electric baton. Just as the director wanted to shoot them here, the rescue team that arrived in time made him give up the idea of killing them. Then Dong Bai and his men were carried to the car by the director's men, but Dong Bai's partner found them in time. He grabbed the car and rescued them. When Dong Bai woke up, he immediately realized that Man Yong-dae's presence was just a decoy. Dong Bai immediately called the director to tell him that his son was in danger, but it was too late. By now, Eraser had already posed as a rescue team member to complete the assassination. When the director came to the hotel room, he found his son had already been stabbed dozens of times. Luckily they found him in time. The director's son was taken to the hospital and was revived. On the other hand, Dong Bai told Sunmi that he realized in Man Yong-dae's memories that there was a connection between this and Assemblyman Fang Jungsi. He saw Fang Jungsi and others beating Man Yong-dae's brother to death, so they went to Fang Jungsi's house again. When he saw the portrait on the wall, Dong Bai realized what was going on. When he read the photographer's memory, he realized that the photographer was the illegitimate son of a congressman. On the day the photographer was going to recognize his father, he was injured by Fang Jungsi's mother, and Fang Jungsi must have gotten Man Yong-dae killed because his mother took care of it. So the reason why Eraser used the photographer and Man Yong-dae, it's because they have a common enemy. That enemy is Fang Jungsi's mother, Huang Bishan. Dong Bai told Huang Bishan that Eraser's ultimate goal was to get revenge on her. He wanted Huang Bishan to tell him the truth so he could save her daughter-in-law. But Huang Bishan was ruthless. She doesn't care about her daughter-in-law's kidnapping. Instead, she wants to use her daughter-in-law's tragedy to get her son's votes in the parliamentary elections. Dongbai tried to take her memory by force, but the bodyguard pushed him away. The next day, when Fang Zhengxi held a press conference to try to get votes, Dongbai infiltrated the press conference and forcibly read his memories. In Fang Zhengxi's memory, Dongbai finally saw the source of the whole thing. After reading his memory, Dongbai directly knocked him to the ground and left the scene. After coming out, Dongbai immediately called Sunmi. He told Sunmi, Man Yongdae's brother wasn't the only one killed 20 years ago. There was also a girl who was assaulted and killed by them. And that girl was Ye Ying, the daughter of an active fire chief. That's why the fire chief is most likely the eraser. It turns out that back then, Ye Ying just wanted to take pictures of the scenery in the woods, but she was raped by a couple of thugs. When her boyfriend found out, he came here to take her home. They poured alcohol on the boy. They set fire to his clothes and burned him alive. Ye Ying went into a trance after they raped her. While she was being treated at the hospital, the police came to investigate and threatened Ye Ying to pretend nothing happened. Even the doctor lied when he examined her, saying she hadn't been raped. In the end, Ye Ying was so humiliated that she chose to hang herself. 20 years later, her father, who was a fire chief, in order to take revenge, he kidnapped the wife of Fang Zhengxi, who was the leader of the gang. He wanted to kill the love of his life to get back at her. When he scanned Fang Zhengxi's memories and found out what happened, he immediately deduced that the person who kidnapped Fang Zhengxi's wife was the fire chief. So Dongpak and Sunmi chased him to his hideout. But when they arrived here, the fire chief seems to be waiting for them. Sunmi asked where Fang Zhengxi's wife was. The captain pointed to the suitcase beside him, indicating that he was inside. When Dongbai called out his name, he took off his mask. Dongbai advised him that even if he wants to take revenge, he should do it legally and rationally. But the captain thinks there is no justice in Korea. Through his conversation with the captain, Sunmi realized that his style was completely different from Eraser's. That's why he feels that he's not Eraser. Dongbai had a plan. He agrees with his way of revenge, but he wants to read Fang Zhengxi's wife's memories before he kills her. Dongbai said that this is the only way to find out Fang Zhengxi's weakness. To defeat Fang Zhengxi's mother and son, the captain immediately rejected Dongbai's proposal. From this, they deduced that there was no one inside the box. Then Dongbai rushed up to the captain and grabbed him by the neck. Right after that, he read in the captain's memory that Fang Zhengxi's wife was locked up in this building. Sunmi heard that and went downstairs to search for her. However, while Dongbai and the captain were fighting each other, they were attacked. The captain was hit by a bullet. Dongbai turned around and was shot in the shoulder. The captain lost his center of gravity and fell from the roof. The one who attacked them was the same dirty cop who threatened the captain's daughter 20 years ago. Luckily, people from the crime unit arrived in time and killed him. Dongbai was lucky to survive. However, while Dongbai was receiving treatment in the hospital, the real Eraser left him a message to meet him alone. Soon after, Dongbai arrived at the agreed place. As soon as they met, the Eraser took off his mask and confessed his identity. And she's Xu Yixu, Congressman Fang Zhengxi's personal secretary. Xu Yixu says her real identity is actually Dongbai's sister, Zhu Ran. She held out her hand for Dongbai to scan her memory. She said that only then would Dongbai know the whole truth. When Dongbai entered her memory, she did see memories from before she was 9 years old. At that time, she and her sister were very close. The three of them had a good family life. One day, sister suddenly received a call from her best friend, Ye Ying. This girlfriend is the same girl who was raped by Fang Zhengxi and the others 20 years ago. She asked Dongbai's sister to meet her at the hospital, but she came to the hospital where Ye Ying was. When she gave her the tape recorder, Ye Ying asked her to leave, but seeing Ye Ying in such a state, she knew something must have happened. Her sister told her, if something bad happened, she could help to erase the memories, but Ye Ying said that even if the memory was erased, but what happened has already happened. She still refused her sister's offer. A few days later, Ye Ying hanged herself. When my sister came out from Ye Ying's funeral, she bumped into that black-hearted cop. In her memory, she saw the doctor and the cop who were involved in the incident, so she started to take revenge for Ye Ying. When she was 17 years old, on this day, she received a package from Ye Ying before she died. Inside was the tape recorder she gave to Ye Ying, and what was recorded inside was Ye Ying's last words. In order to take revenge, she used a photographer to kidnap the police officer who gave her the assignment. She called the thugs who defiled Ye Ying, but Fang Zhengxi was studying abroad and couldn't be there. She took them to the warehouse. She erased all their memories. She put them in a state of panic and made them kill each other. But just then, a man in black sneaked into their house to steal the tape recorder. Because mother and Dongbai met him when they were returning home, her mother was killed by the man in black with a hammer. Young Dongbai went out alone to get help. He met his sister halfway. She read Dongbai's memories and saw her mother being brutalized. And Dongbai also after this stimulation. After being stimulated, Dongbai read his sister's memories for the first time. He saw the images of the people in the warehouse killing each other. After seizing the memories, sister told Dongbai to wait for her at her uncle's house. She wanted to go home to save her mom, but Dongbai followed her memory to the warehouse. That's why the eraser Dongbai saw in the director's memory was herself. Dongbai was too stimulated at that time. He had just mastered the supernatural power and accidentally deleted his own memories in the shock. So Dongbai also has the ability to erase memories. In addition, sister also told Dongbai they can also fabricate memories at will. Sister said that even though this power is very scary, but for the evil forces, deleting memories won't punish them, so he can take revenge in his own way. When she finished speaking, she lifted the lid of the steel barrel behind her. Inside is the murderer Fang Zhengxi sent to kill his mother 20 years ago. Sister took out a gun and told Dongbai to kill him to avenge his mother's death, but Dongbai couldn't do it. Looking at his weak brother, sister grabbed the gun and killed the man in the barrel. After dealing with the murderer, she took the gun and was about to kill herself. Luckily, Sunmi and the others arrived at the scene. A bullet in her arm stopped her. The next day, Dongbai found evidence of Fang Zhengxi and the others using her memory. So in the end, Fang Zhengxi and her mother were sent to jail, and Fang Zhengxi killed herself in prison because she couldn't take the torture. After dealing with these criminals, Dongbai, in order to let his sister live, he used his superpower to erase all her bad memories. At the end of the story, Dongbai resumed his former job. He continued to work as a star detective, and Sunmi quit her job as Sunmi to become a lawyer.